Hi, friends. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, and it is day 15 of distance learning. So, as you can see, the video today is going to be a little bit different than the videos that I've taken in the past. I did this today so that you would be able to see the full pages of the article that we're going to read today as I'm reading it aloud. This is because we're no longer using, well, let me back up. We're using Seesaw now. So the only thing that's going to be posted on Seesaw is our videos. And then if you would still like to print out the pages to do your work on, you can still find them in our distance learning folder. Um, like right here, we click on first grade. And then for read aloud, you would go to the read aloud folder. And then this is the week of April 6th to April 10th. You click on that, click on Tuesday, April 7th. And then here you can print out the article and you can print out the sheet of paper as well that goes through the questions that we answer while we read the article, as well as the exit ticket on after it. So if you want to print those out, those are still available to you. But if you're not going to print them out, we're going to ask you that you take a blank sheet of paper. It can be computer paper or notebook paper, probably notebook paper to help us write a little bit neater, so that you can write down the answers to the questions. We're not going to use the paint feature on Seesaw anymore because it wasn't very neat. It was hard to read, and using the paint feature doesn't help us to practice our neatest handwriting. So instead, you can either print out these papers right here and do your work on them. You're going to then take a picture of it and upload it to Seesaw, or you can do your work on a blank piece of paper, also take a picture of it and upload it to Seesaw. Um, Either way you do it, we expect it to be handwritten, so that we can practice our writing. All right. So now that we've gone through that, we are going to take a look at our article that we're going to read today. So, we present. Here we go. Yes. Here it is. All right. This is our article, Life in 100 Years. So, we're going to look through this article real quick. There are only a few pages, just like the other articles that we've read. And we're going to think about this question, our first question. What is the genre of the article? So I'm going to flip through it and think about that question. What is the genre of the article? Oops. So we've got these pictures here, got some bold words, and this is the back. So after looking through that article, write down the answer to this question on your piece of paper. What is the genre of the article? Take about 20 seconds to write that down. Go. All right, so when we're looking for the genre of the article, we know that it's either going to be fiction or nonfiction. Um, so I'm going to look through this. We know that the title is Life in 100 Years. Hmm. We see this photograph right here. We see a label here. Um, let's see. Oh, these look like more photographs. Some bold words. Up here, it says no one knows what life will be like in 100 years, but people can make some guesses. Here is what might happen. And then on the back, we have this timeline. All right, so taking all of those things into consideration, we know that the genre is nonfiction. The genre is nonfiction because we know that this article is about to teach us about something. It's going to teach us about life in 100 years. It's got all of the text features show us that it is a nonfiction text. We've got photographs, we have labels, and we have other nonfiction text features as well that we will get into later on. Actually, we'll get into them right now. We're going to flip through this again. And as we go through it, you're going to be thinking about the text features that you see. So let's flip through it and make a note of any text features that you see, and then I'm going to give you some time to write them down. So here's the cover. Got the inside. And my picture right here is just covering up the word the. And this is the back. All right, so now you're going to take about 45 seconds to write down what text features you see in the article. I'm going to flip through it again while you guys are writing. So don't worry if you don't remember them all right now. So you're going to write for 45 seconds. What text features do you see? Go ahead. All right, so let's start at the beginning. So this is the cover of our article. I know that I see a photograph of this futuristic looking car. So we know that photographs is definitely one of our text features. There's this label here that's telling me something about this car. It says this is a picture of a flying car that people are building. So that's exciting that there might be flying cars in 100 years, or maybe even sooner if we're lucky. Um, so we know that we have photographs, we have labels, we have the title of our article right here, Life in 100 Years. Um, so so far we have photographs, labels, titles. Let's go inside. Ooh, we have headings for sure. These are the headings on top of or before each section of the article. So we've got four smaller headings. We have this up here that says the world in 100 years. That's a larger heading because we know that that's not the title because this is the title right here. All right, so we've got a caption. This is telling us more about this photograph right here. And we have bold words as well. We know that bold words are a text feature in a nonfiction text. So we've got photographs, labels, headings, titles, captions, bolded words, and let's see what if we can find any new things on the back. Ooh, we've got this thing. Now, we might not know what this is called, but this is definitely a nonfiction text feature. This is called a timeline. A timeline. So, this shows you how people have gotten from one place to the other over time. So, these are years. So, right now, the year is 2020 or 2020. Um, and these photos are showing you what how people got places in different years. So this is the year 1900, which was 120 years ago. This is the year 1920, which was 100 years ago. And this is, oop, oh my goodness. This is the year, this red picture is 2120, which is 100 years from now. And we see that a photograph of that flying car again. So we know that this timeline is also a um, text feature as well. So we've got this timeline, we have photographs, titles, headings, bolded words, captions, and I think that's all of them. So make sure you have those written down. All right, now we're going to read the article and then answer the rest of these questions. So I'm going to use this pointer to point to the word so you can follow along with your screen. Life in 100 years. What will the world be like in 100 years? Will there be flying cars like this one? Some experts think so. As you read, think about how life in the future might be different from life today. So remember, that's what we're going to be thinking about while we're reading. This label says, "This is a picture of a flying car that people are building." Wow, that's exciting. People are already building that flying car. Awesome. All right, let's go in here. Remember, I'm covering up the word the, so we've got the world in 100 years. No one knows what life will be like in 100 years, but people can make some guesses. Here is what might happen. We'll go over here. There might be farms on top of skyscrapers. Right now, our world is crowded. It will get more crowded over time. There may be less room for people and animals one day. In 100 years, farms on top of buildings could help. People could live in the buildings. Animals like cows could live on the roofs. People could plant grass. Let's see, what does that say? People could plant grass for the cows to eat. All right, so we got a lot of information about farms on top of skyscrapers that might happen in 100 years. All right, let's go to the next section. People could go to space for fun. Right now, mainly astronauts go to space. Astronauts have to train very hard to go to space. In 100 years, anybody might be able to go to space. Some companies are making spaceships for this. People would buy a ticket just like you buy a ticket to go on an airplane. Then they would blast off into the sky. So in 100 years, people might be able to just buy a ticket to go to outer space. That would be crazy. People could live on Mars. Right? Right now, no person has ever been to Mars. All people live on Earth. In 100 years, people could move to Mars. Scientists want to learn how people could live there. They study how we could grow food and make homes there one day. All right, so in 100 years, people could go to space for fun and they could visit their friends who might live on Mars. So, those are ways that the world might change in 100 years. And then this caption says, "This is a picture of what a home on Mars might look like." Hmm. I've never seen a home look like that. So that'll be different in 100 years too, or it might. Let's read this last section. Robots could help do chores. Right now, we have some robots that help us with chores. This is a vacuum cleaner that works on its own. It is a robot. In 100 years, we might have many robots to help us with chores. Robots could cook, clean, water the garden, and take out the trash. Ooh, that would be really helpful. So, in 100 years, robots might be able to do chores. Let's go to the back. Transportation over time. This timeline shows ways people have gotten from one place to another over time. So in 1900, we have a horse, and this is called a buggy. So it's got a horse and buggy. Then we've got one of the first ever cars in 1920. Now in 2020, this looks like a car that maybe your family has, or people you see people driving down the street in this car. And then in 2120, we see a picture of this flying car. So on this timeline, we can see how ways to get from one place to the other have changed over time. Now that we've read the whole article, we can answer the next question. Where might we find farms in 100 years? Take about a minute to answer this question. Go ahead. All right, so where might we find farms in 100 years? Well, there are four sections in the inside of this article. And the one that looks like it would give me the answer to that question is this first section right here, because I see some cows and I know that cows are typically on farms. And I can see right here the heading says there might be farms on top of skyscrapers. So the heading actually gives us our answer. There might be farms on top of skyscrapers. So where might we find farms in 100 years? On top of skyscrapers. So we might find farms on top of skyscrapers in 100 years. Now let's move on to the next question. What does the word astronauts mean? So you might know this from past knowledge or things that you've learned before. But using the article, what does the word astronauts mean? Go ahead. All right. What does the word astronauts mean? Well, I know where to find astronauts because I see this spaceship going off right here. Um, I see the bolded word astronauts here, so I know that the answer will be in this section. So it says people could go to space for fun. Right now, mainly astronauts go to space. Astronauts have to train very hard to go to space. All right, so after reading that paragraph, I know that astronauts are people who work in space. So astronauts are people who work in space, and going to space is part of their job. So astronauts are people who work in space. All right, so now we have one more question on this sheet, and then we can move on to our exit ticket. So this last question right here is how did people get from one place to the other in the year 1900? So we are going to take about a minute to answer that question, and I'm going to turn the page. There you go. All right, how did people get from one place to the other in the year 1900? Go ahead. All right, so how did people get from one place to another in the year 1900? So I know that I'm going to use this text feature right here, this timeline, to help me answer my question. So this is showing us the ways that people have gotten from one place to another over time. So, and I know that all of these numbers are different years. So I know that if I need to figure out how people got from one place to the other in the year 1900, I'm going to look up here, and this points to this box. So in this photograph, we see people using a horse and a cart or buggy. So in the year 1900, people used a horse and buggy to get from one place to the other. So the answer to that question is in the year 1900, people used a horse and buggy to get from one place to another. All right, my friends, now that we've read this whole article and we've answered some questions about it, we're going to go back the middle of the article so that we can answer the exit ticket. The exit ticket is asking you, how might the world change in 100 years? And you need to write down 4 ways that the world might change in 100 years and say how those changes are different from what is going on in the world right now. So, for example, in one of my reasons or one of my explanations for how the world might change in 100 years is there might be farms on top of skyscrapers. And this is different from today because right now there are no farms on top of skyscrapers. So that is one way that the world would change. So you're going to do that for the next 3 as well. Um, Remember, if you need to look at the article to help you answer this question, all you have to do is go back to your distance learning materials, click on first grade, read aloud, and go to today's date, and you will see the article. All right, friends, remember that you are writing down your answer to this exit ticket, either on a blank sheet of paper or on the exit ticket itself, with a paper and a pencil. You are not using the paint feature on Seesaw. Once you have written that down, you're going to take a picture of it and upload it as a response to this assignment. Remember, if you have any questions about Seesaw at all, I know that it's all very new. Reach out to your teacher and we will do our very best to try and help you. All right, my friends, have a great rest of your day and I will see you tomorrow.